to Podtoid. I'm CJ.
I'm Chris.
Meu nome é
Occams.
Was that Spanish again?
Portuguese.
Oh, okay. We're varying it up this time. And this is episode 460. Thank you for joining us today. We have a good show planned for you. We're going to be talking about Spellbreak, the big Bethesda purchase that happened this week. And because it's just Chris, Occams, and I today, we're going to be doing some movie talk as well. But before that, Chris, welcome back.
Hi.
You have a good week off?
It was okay. Yeah, we're all just fighting the planet. I think at the minute we're just like keep pushing, just keep pushing. Because as people keep telling me, oh, there's only like 90 days left of the year. As people keep telling me, because I guess once we get to the end of those 90 days, everything's fine. I guess because people keep talking to me like that's the case, but.
There is this weird mentality that we just need to make it through 2020, and then everything is just going to be peachy keen, sunshine and roses for the rest of for 2021. I'm just like, that's not how it works. That's not how anything works.
I don't think people understand. Like, we're going to get to January the 1st, 12:01 a.m. It's going to be cats and dogs living together.
It reminds me of a guy I knew in college who would get like a case of beer and proceed to drink, let's say it's a case of 24 and drink 20 of them and then just be like, well, there's only 4 left. So I'll finish those too. As well, you don't have to.
Well, as soon as you open the box, the beer starts to go bad. So you really have to finish it right away.
That's true.
Yeah.
No, it's cool to be back on the show. I'm not doing great at the moment, but I don't know many people who are, so it's fine. It's not fine.
My tattoo artist. He's my inspiration is my tattoo artist. I asked him how he's doing, COVID and all that stuff. And he's like, I'm doing really well. I'm like, what do you mean you're doing well? I was like, what's happening? He's like, well, I've been working out. I'm practicing becoming a blacksmith, and I'm building a treehouse. I'm like, fuck, okay, cool. I guess all the good energy in the world went to my tattoo artist.
That dude sounds like he's training to be an NPC in a JRPG.
I was gonna say, like, the blacksmithing and the treehouse sounds very kind of prepping for the apocalypse. I think
I'm gonna need a skill as soon as the world goes to shit. I know blacksmithing.
I like that. Knowing him, that wouldn't exactly surprise me. He's like last time I saw him, he brought in some of his knives, and they're like legit knives. Like if I made a knife, it's gonna be like a prison shiv, like a toothbrush handle to sharpen down. This dude made it had like a wooden handle that he'd polished and like a blade and all kinds of shit. It's awesome.
Like something you'd pick up in like a text adventure from '87.
Yeah,
the Sword of Gomorrah or something.
Do you pick up the egg? Oh boy! Shout out to Zork.
I do not understand pick up egg.
Yeah. Oh god damn it. Shut up. That's like it's giving me flashbacks and I'm mad.
You have to excuse Chris. He was like in his 30s when that game came out, so he was well past his time.
For fuck's sake. Oh man, I remember when I bought my first console as an adult and it was a ColecoVision. CJ, you start every episode with, we have a good show for you. And it's like, that's for us to judge.
I think I made that joke on our very second show where I said, we have a good show for you today or not. It's too early to tell.
Was that episode 2?
That was episode 2. I was already feeling that way about doing Podtoid.
458 episodes ago.
Exactly. Now, before we get talking about games and movies, I just want to start us off with a quick story. I almost said it's November. No, it's September, which means, of course, it's Coven season. And that means restaurants and food manufacturers are pumping pumpkin spice into everything they make. There are pumpkin spice lattes, of course, pumpkin spice protein shakes, pumpkin spice liquor, pumpkin spice yogurt pretzels, hummus, Spam, which sounds horrifying, by the way. There's also pumpkin spice Werthers that I saw this morning when I was at the store getting some milk, pumpkin spice peanut butter, milk, hard seltzer. Basically anything you see on a supermarket shelf will eventually have some pumpkin spice added to it. And this year, The food that's taking the dive for the first time, apparently, is Kraft macaroni and cheese. This might not make it to supermarket shelves, but you can win it on Twitter. Kraft launched a giveaway in Canada last week with more than 30,000 people entering it to win a limited edition box of pumpkin spiced Kraft macaroni and cheese. If you're wondering what it tastes like, according to Kraft, quote, Kraft pumpkin macaroni and cheese with pumpkin spice is the same cheesy mac and cheese Americans know and love, now with added fall flavors, hints of cinnamon, nutmeg, allspice, and ginger. Pumpkin spice macaroni and cheese is best served curled up with a cozy scarf, flannel shirt, and a pumpkin-scented candle. Is there any interest of anyone here eating pumpkin spice macaroni and cheese?
Like, Lord, no. I'm just amazed it's a prize. And the winner gets that?
That's for the winner, yes.
I thought it'd be like if you didn't win, you got it.
I imagine people are just trying this out for shits and giggles to taste it out, and I'm sure there's going to be 1,000 TikTok videos about it once these things actually go out.
Two thoughts. The first is that this person is, whoever wins this is the winner in the same way the person with the black dot on the piece of paper in the lottery short story was the winner. And second off, that list, when you listed off all the stuff that has been pumpkin spiced,
yeah,
just reminds me how much white people need to be tried for crimes against humanity.
It's really, really awful. When looking through the list of stuff, I did see the pumpkin spice Oscar Mayer bologna, but that turned out to be fake. Thank God that turned out to be fake. I just like the idea that someone's going to cook up some pumpkin spice mac and cheese and curl up on a couch with a scarf and a flannel and a scented candle, as opposed to how I'm going to eat it if I win, which is in my underwear over the kitchen sink. That's generally how I eat all my meals.
Like, you don't even pour it into a bowl. You just hold the pan or hold the pan handle or whatever.
Yep.
I forgot what that's called. It's not a pan. What is it?
Pot.
Thank you.
And then you don't wash it immediately, so the pasta that's stuck to the bottom dries in, and you end up just buying a new pan.
I've done that with so many cookie sheets since I moved in, because I don't wash them as soon as they cool off, and so it's just all of this stuff gets immediately stuck to it. It's like, okay, well, this was $3. In the garbage you go.
I had yesterday my first pumpkin spice latte of the season, and I wasn't really thinking straight, and I got like a large one. And by the time I'd finished it, it was basically like someone had like baked a carrot cake, liquefied it, and then I just drunk the entire cake. It didn't work out. It didn't work out.
I can do like 2 sips, and then it feels like I'm like, eating fall's asshole, and I don't like it.
And also, they talk about those fall flavors. Get some soggy leaves in there.
Yeah. Wet dog.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, my partner just texted me the perfect pumpkin spice latte order at Starbucks. Do half the syrup and make it with half and half, aka breve, and that's going to be your perfect pumpkin spice drink.
Half the syrup and make it with half and half.
Yeah.
Okay, I will remember that. Because I hate pumpkin pie, so I can't imagine I'm going to like this, but, might as well try it before I try it in its macaroni and cheese form.
Jesus. Do they make like a pumpkin spice flavored lube or flavored condoms or something? I mean, where does it stop?
I bet there is.
I know there's cinnamon. There's cinnamon.
That seems
close.
That sounds horrible, by the way.
Big red. Is that big red flavor?
You are listening to Podtoid.
All right, let's go ahead and get talking about some games and movies. And we're going to start with me. For the past week or so, I've been playing Spellbreak. It launched earlier this month on all consoles, but I really didn't think about getting into it until Sony's presentation when they had the reveal of Hogwarts Legacy. I thought that looked really good, but I'm not going to play that game. So where else can I get my wizarding kicks? And then this popped back into my mind. So I decided to give it a go, and I'm really glad I did. If you don't know what Spellbreak is about, it is a it is a free-to-play battle royale that switches out the guns that you usually see in the genre for magic. Here's basically how it plays. So before a match, you pick your class from the currently available 6 elements, which are fire, earth, wind, ice, poison, and lightning. That class...
No heart.
No heart yet. That's as soon as they come with that and you do team mode, you'll be able to form Captain Planet. So that class dictates your attacks from your right arm of your character for the entirety of the match. So if you choose a fire class, your right arm attacks will always be fire attacks. For your left arm, once you get out onto the battlefield, you can pick up different gauntlets for any of the other 5 elements. So if you have the fire class, you can mix it with a poison gauntlet on your left arm. And when I say mix, I really do mean mix. One of the cooler elements of Spellbreak is that you can combine some of the elements. Each arm that you have with a gauntlet has 2 attacks. You have your simple spells, which are just your basic attacks. So like for fire, you just throw fireballs. For ice, you shoot ice arrows. But then you also have sorcery, which is, depending on the elements you have, an area of effect, attack, or shield. So like with ice, the sorcery creates this ice wall around you that doesn't let any like fire attacks get in. And if there are people close enough to you, you have a chance of freezing them in place to attack them some more. With fire, you can form a firewall it's just a wall of fire. But if you have poison on your left arm, you can throw some poison at that fire and make it into poison fire.
Pumpkin spice fire.
Other things you could do, you can with the when you have the ice class and you shoot an ice arrow, it will actually create an ice path that you can skate across. And so, in a battle royale, you always have the wall that's constantly closing in on you. This is an easy way in order to escape that if you're a bit too far from the center point. But you can electrocute that. So if you see someone skating and you shoot some lightning on it, you just electrocute them while they're there. You can make poison gas tornadoes if you mixed wind powers with poison. So
yeah, I made a poison gas tornado last night after Taco Bell.
Hey-o!
Oh, God.
Oh, man, I need a rim shot. Wait, hold on.
What?
There we go.
I told you not to use that clip again.
I'll replace it with a rim shot as soon as I get it. It's a blast. This game is very fun, and I think of all the battle royales that I have played, it's my favorite in terms of gameplay. Because when you add in like floating mechanics and the power of flight or teleportation or like Superman high jumping, you get some really impressive looking battles that are absolutely fun to play. And they look good even on Switch, although Switch does have some frame rate issues. But like, this is the first battle royale that I don't mind playing in a team or by myself. Usually it's only one way or the other. This one, I'm good in both because I'm kind of good at this game. I've found myself destroying teams by myself because sometimes they're very easy to ambush. So that happens like once in a blue moon in Apex Legends. I'm not that good at that game to take out 3 people by myself, but in this one, I kind of am. There's a lot more to talk about with this game, but I probably have to save some stuff for the review that's going to be going up later this week. So at the very least, it's free to play. Might as well give it a shot.
I've really kind of struggled to like the battle royale genre, and I've given it so many like different goes. Earlier today, I was playing Warzone for the first time in ages because I hate my hard drive and I want it to be completely full. And I like, I love the film battle royale. I get the concept, I understand, but I always struggle when I'm playing it to kind of feel like I'm having any fun at all. But I do kind of want to try Spellbreak because maybe I just need I play Siege all the time, and maybe I just need the guns taking out of the equation. Maybe it's like I've got a game with guns in it. So maybe like Spellbreak will be kind of like a doorway into the genre for me because it's just something a bit different. I also think the character design's pretty cool in it. Although all that said, I could read your review and find out I'm completely wrong and that it has terrible character design and I don't enjoy it.
I guess you will find out this Thursday or Friday whenever I get that done.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and move on to Chris. Chris, you want to talk about canon films?
Yes, I do want to talk about canon films. This weekend, I was feeling a little under the weather, so I stayed in bed and decided to watch something, but I wasn't really feeling any movies. So I rewatched the documentary that I think everyone who has even a passing interest in films needs to watch. It's a documentary from 2014. It's called Electric Boogaloo, and it was made by an Australian documentary maker and film historian called Mark Hartley, who's got a series of these kind of, let's say, off the wall film documentaries under his belt, and they're all great. They're all worth checking out. So Electric Boogaloo tells the story of canon films. Now, like CJ Occams, you guys know who Canon are, but for those who don't, in the late 70s, there were these two Israeli producers, Menachem Golan and Yolan Globus, and they were like these headstrong filmmakers. Some would say driven, others would say reckless. But in 1979, they took the money that they'd made in Israel making movies like the Apple and Lemon Popsicle, and they bought this struggling film production company in America called Canon Films that was up for sale because for the last few years it hadn't been doing so good. It struggled to get out of the starting blocks. And then basically between 79 and 89, over the course of 10 years, Golan and Globus produced this staggering catalogue of films, just firing them out at rapid rate like it was an Uzi clip going off, which is ironic given that Uzis appear in all of their movies. But the duo's MO was to buy up cheap scripts that no one would buy, and then they'd bang like an unknown or a semi-retired star in the lead role. They'd make a poster, and then they'd sell the poster to a studio. They'd show the studio the poster and go, look, we've got this guy in it, and look, there's a helicopter exploding on the poster, and people would give them money. Then they'd use that money to really quickly make the film, get the movie out on screens, and then move straight on to making the next poster for the next film. And for about 10 years, that was how they made films. And that was their deal. That was like the Canon methodology. So they smashed out movie after movie after movie, mostly starring Charles Bronson or Chuck Norris, and sometimes based around really popular culture trends that were like hot in the moment, like popular dances or music genres or something like that. So if you like 80s movies, you almost definitely seen a Canon film. They did the Death Wish sequels. They did Invasion USA, which we've talked about on this show, Missing in Action, Delta Force. They did Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, Break In and Break Into Electric Boogaloo, Bloodsport. They kind of gave Van Damme his start with Bloodsport and Cyborg. Life Force, Enter the Ninja. One of your favorites, Occam's Ninja 3: The Domination. You love that film, right?
I love it.
Yeah. And you guys have seen some of these films, yeah? Like I know we've mentioned a couple on the show, right?
Oh yeah, and for a certain group of us, and imagine a fairly large one. I mean, these we grew up on these movies. A Canon film was our blockbusters. You know, like they are so inextricably tied to our experiences consuming media as like teens and tweens, and then I watched these when I was a baby. So I mean I've seen this documentary, and I love a little anecdote. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, but I remember it was like Van Damme was talking about how he like landed one of a gig with them. It was like he went up to I can't say that dude's name right, but he went up to him and was like did like a roundhouse kick like right in his face, and he was like, "Could you hired?" And I'm like, "Cool, that's such a good story."
Yeah, like he just waited in like the reception of the Canon building for Menachem to come in, and then just did like that famous jump split kick that he does in all his movies. Just did that like half a centimeter away from his face, and Golan was like, "I'll put you in one of my movies." That's basically. But yeah, and they pump out these films, and they obviously didn't study too much on quality. It was about getting the films just made fast and making profit on them, which they did at first, and then kind of the wheels fell off the company around 88, so almost 10 years after they bought it, where the conveyor belt system got ahead of them, and they were making movies way faster than the money was coming in, especially as some of the films started to die at the box office. So they did these like 3 Hail Mary plays to try and save the company. And they put a ton of money into 3 specific films, thinking these are the films that, as we hit 1990, are going to take us into the next level, and we're going to be more respectful, and people are going to like us more, and people are going to see that we've got big Hollywood stars. So they cast these 3 Hail Marys, and they all flopped. And the 3 films are Over the Top, where they paid Stallone something in the realms of $20 million to do that like arm wrestling movie. And ironically, it was like the most a star had been paid in a long time. So off the back of Stallone getting 20 million, just because they overspent, everyone started asking every studio for 20 million. So Cannon basically overpaying Stallone led to everyone to this day still getting overpaid. That's kind of how it started. Because they were like, well, if Stallone's getting 20 million to make a film, I should get MGM to pay me 35 million or whatever.
I just over the top. I love the fact that like the big prize was like what $600,000 or whatever, 6 figures, and then that truck. It's like so specific to him. That's just oh yeah. There's people have written essays and books and shit on these films. They're great.
The second film that they kind of dropped was Superman 4: The Quest for Peace.
Oh, talk about a stinker.
Because they, at the time, they weren't going to make any more Superman movies, and Cannon managed to get Christopher Reeve to kind of come and do this one film. And if Superman 4 had worked, then everyone would have looked at Cannon differently. But if you've seen it, it's terrible. It's really cheap. The effects in it are absolutely awful. It had a budget of like 5 million, which obviously, or 7 million, which is like obviously nothing for the time. And then right off the back of Superman 4, they took any profit they'd made from those 2 movies and they made Masters of the Universe.
Man.
And essentially those 3 films sunk the company. So
one of my favorite movie going experiences as a child was a twofer showing of Masters of the Universe and Ghost Dad.
Okay. What audience is that for?
Yeah.
I guess 12-year-old boys, because I think that was about my age when I saw those.
Just out of interest, regardless of what anyone's got to say about Masters of the Universe and its fucking cosmic key and its little troll characters, Meg Foster's Evil Lynn's fucking amazing.
Oh yeah, no, she's and just hot as lava too. She fucking hell. My favorite was one of like the little alien captains who looked like if you combine like a troll doll with Tina Turner from Mad Max. He had that like Buffon ass hairdo. Oh, I love that dude so much.
It was like they were like, have you got any makeup left over from Legend that you didn't use? Can we borrow that, please?
Yeah,
the thing that gets me about Masters of the Universe is the same thing that gets me about the Transformers movies, is that you have this property with very famous characters, yet you're going to focus the movie on people no one cares about. Like, wasn't the first half of that movie just basically all Billy Barty and Courtney Cox?
Pretty much, yeah. Like, I think I remember that when I saw Masters of the Universe, the big thing, I can't remember how old I was at the time, 38, but the thing I just instantly remember is thinking it didn't look like He-Man. Like He-Man looked like Dolph Lundgren looked like He-Man, but they were like in LA, weren't they? And they were on like flying discs, which like aren't in the cartoon, and there was a bunch of characters that aren't in the cartoon. And I remember almost immediately being turned off the film because I was like, "Why are there humans here? Why is there the police and the fire engines showing up? And where's Man at Arms? I don't know. Where's Clamp Champ?"
Yeah, they were in Eternia for about 3 minutes. And then just were like, all right, we're done in downtown Los Angeles. Though, to be fair, Frank Langella as Skeletor is still one of my favorite acting roles ever. He destroyed that role in such a great way. Like, he is Skeletor to me.
It's kind of like the Raul Julia as Bison thing, where you know that the actor's like a great actor and kind of a thespian. And sometimes you think when given the opportunity to put on a silly costume and be like, "Mwah," then they actually relish it, because it's like, I'm not doing fucking Othello again.
Yeah. Like his speech at the end after he gains cosmic power, air quotes cosmic power, was just fucking amazing. I love that movie. Also, a little fun fact, Dolph Lundgren didn't speak English when he got that role. It was all phonetically learned.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, that would explain his delivery then.
Yeah.
There's a story on the documentary that Stallone kind of turns up to speak to Menachem Golan about, about something to do with Over the Top, and he comes on set of Masters of the Universe, and he sees Dolph Lundgren like in the gear, like rehearsing or whatever, and Stallone turns to Golan and goes, "You gave that guy lines?" So yeah, great tangent, but this documentary, again, it's called Electric Boogaloo. It has the full story of the Cannon Group. It has loads of clips from the films. It has some really good talking heads. Dolph Lundgren's in it, Michael Dudikoff, who was the American Ninja, Marina Sirtis from Star Trek, Alex Winter is in it as well. There's a whole bunch of names of people who just turned up in these films, Van Damme, etc. It's funny and it's fast moving, and it's kind of cautionary, but at the same time, you can't help but be inspired by like the drive of Golan Globus. And even if they basically drove Cannon into the ground due to their like inability to stand still or care about the quality of what they were putting out, they gave a decade this like huge back catalogue of both awesome and awesomely bad movies. And there's kind of a final thing. It's like, no Cannon, no Death Wish 3. And who wants to live in that world?
So true.
I think for me, I've seen a lot of those films. The one I remember most vividly, for various reasons, is the movie 10 to Midnight, which is one of those Charles Bronson films. I've only seen the entire movie one time, but I've seen the opening part of it about, 50 dozen times, because I watched this when I was very young, and I think my parents recorded it off of HBO because it was on a VHS that had like 25 different movies on it. When you could get those VHSs that had so much film in it, so you could record an entire night of HBO. But if you haven't seen it, the opening of 10 to Midnight features the killer, who is played by Gene Davis, butt naked, chasing around a woman also butt naked through the woods to kill her. And as I was growing up, I watched that over and over again because Gene Davis has just the milkiest white ass I'd ever seen up to that point in my life. Unfortunately, his face is like a mix of Jason Ritter and Finn Wittrock, so it really doesn't do anything for me. But I watched that opening a lot.
10 to Midnight actually has nothing to do with the film. It was just like, oh, that sounds great.
I know.
That's a great title for the movie.
This past week I watched the Jack Nicholson remake of The Postman Always Rings Twice, and literally that title does not make sense for that movie because there's no mention of postmen in that movie.
No, you see, that was the name of the sled.
All right, Occams, let's go ahead and move on to you and wrap up this talk with you got a horror movie shout out?
Well, just kind of a general shout out. I realized looking at the calendar that next Thursday is October 1st.
Yeah.
And I know that we're living in a strange time in terms of the idea of Halloween and what usual festivities go with it. But I wanted to just give a gentle reminder to everybody that they can just search out horror films. Search out really any genre of film, but with October and all, look up horror movies. We've that Canon documentary is really, really great for just like, I made a list of movies that either I had not seen since they came out or forgotten about or just hadn't seen at all. And just started watching some of them and just search out some really interesting movies. There's a lot of really good horror stuff right now. Last night we watched Invisible Man, and that was not half bad. I would argue it's more of a thriller than a horror movie, but I thought it did some really interesting things in terms of camera work. And I thought that Elizabeth Moss is a stellar actress, especially when she's trying to be scared of something that's not there. That's very interesting to see. But yeah, so just kind of a general shout out. Just go look up some horror movies, and they don't have to all be like, maybe you don't want to be scared. Well, then Hocus Pocus, Halloween Town. There's any number. Watch Mac and Me. That's not even supposed to be a horror movie. That's a fucking nightmare of a film. So just shout out general, like, go watch some fun horror movies. Celebrate Halloween in your own way as best you can.
I love a good horror film during October. Always seems the right time of year. It's the only time of year I want to watch those.
You got a favorite?
It's Halloween 365 here for me. So,
have you got a favorite? No.
For a horror movie?
Yeah.
Oh, that's easy. The Thing. It's always been my favorite since.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's a million of them. We could break it up by genre, sure, of like subgenre, but no, it's The Thing.
Well, I was trying to think of an answer, but no answer's better than the thing. That's the correct answer. It's like a question in a game show. It's not about an opinion. Like the correct answer's the thing.
See,
It's like, what's your favorite horror movie? The Thing is the correct answer.
my answer for that would be Alien, which I don't feel is wrong. And mind you, I saw Alien when I was younger, and I was more easily scared by it, and I only saw The Thing for the first time like 4 months ago. So,
Well, I would argue that the Alien is scary no matter what age you are. That I mean, both of those movies are a masterclass, not only in the horror genre but filmmaking and acting and everything. They're perfect movies. So I can agree with that. I still prefer, now for me that comes down to a preference of the creature and the setting, and I prefer the Thing creature. I mean, the Thing creature is like my favorite. I love body horror. Body horror is my favorite type of horror. It's like my favorite type of like gore, everything to do with it, because I love that idea of like bodies betraying themselves and shifting and flesh being clay and all. This is my serial killer manifesto apparently. But it's I love that idea. But then like the the xenomorph design is, I would say, arguably the most iconic movie monster, with the exception of maybe the Universal monsters.
yeah. Chris, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Just going back to canon films real quick. Do you think if they didn't make that gamble on those 3 films, that they still would have gone out of business?
Yeah, probably. At the time, they owed They already owed millions to banks, and they'd had to start. I don't know if you had them over there, but we had Canon cinemas in this country, like cinemas owned by Canon, and they'd already had to start selling off property and stuff like that. I think basically the last chance was if Superman 4 had been like Superman 1 and 2, if it had been that good and taken that much money and been critically acclaimed, then they then could have gone into the 90s making kind of bigger movies and qualifying. And not only that, but there was kind of a snobbiness in the industry about Canon. But if they'd made like a great Superman movie, then some of that snobbiness would have gone away. But I just think Menachem Golan was basically, because he died like in 2014, but he was basically this guy who was incessantly looking for the next film to make. That's all he wanted to do, was make films back to back. There's this story that Globus once turns to him and says, like, Menachem, we owe the bank like $5 million. And Menachem says, the only thing that depresses me about that is that we don't owe them 50 million. So I think basically it's funny that they made all these high octane action films, because I think basically the thing with Canon is just that they were always on this kind of too fast to live path. Yeah. And that they managed to get out so many films in 10 years. But I think once we've gotten into the 90s and kind of more and more people have been turning to making like legitimately good films, by the 90s the drive-ins were definitely starting to vanish, and the idea of B pictures was already slowing down. If anything, they would have just gone into like the straight to video market. But I think their last chance to stay alive for a little longer would have been if they'd not made Over the Top and Superman 4 had been great. But I still can't see that company going anywhere but off a cliff eventually.
When you said you were going to talk about Canon films, I started doing like a little bit of research, and it would have been really difficult for them to survive in a post-Terminator 2 world. Like, let's be honest.
Right, yeah. Right. There's an argument that there are still films around today that kind of have the Canon aesthetic. Things like Olympus Has Fallen, or Money Plane. They're still kind of like modern day Canon films. So there's still like an aesthetic out there. But I agree, like in a post, and then once films come across like Con Air, which are kind of explosive like Canon films, and The Rock, but they're explosive like Canon films, but they've also got really good actors in them and staggering budgets. And I don't think they just would have been able to stand up against that stuff.
I would say that maybe anything Steven Seagal has done in the past 20 years.
It's just all Canon film.
I saw it was on Twitter. Somebody shared this clip of, it was some movie. They all have these most ridiculous names, but it was the big final fight between Steven Seagal and some guy, and there would be like 3 seconds of like Steven Seagal trying to do that weird like the kind of like feathery hand slap fake fighting he does, and then they would just cut to two silhouettes of a man, like the guy, the bad guy, and then it's supposed to be Steven Seagal, but it's Steven Seagal maybe 30 years ago, like really fighting, like really doing crazy shit. Then cut back to Steven Seagal now with that oh so slimming goatee, doing the feathery, fake hand slaps.
I'm really sorry if you tuned into the show to listen to stories about video games.
This is Podtoid.
That is it for games and more than games, movies this week, which means it is time for the news.
This is the news.
This weekend has been the Tokyo Game Show going on. We've gotten a few announcements and some reveals out of that. But obviously, we need to kick our news segment off with the biggest story of the week, the month, possibly even the year. There was a purchase this past week that will absolutely rock the games industry. And that's right, I'm talking about the fact that I bought an Xbox Series S. So I just want to make sure I got one of those. And I did. I ended up getting two of them. I'm going to cancel one eventually. But yeah. Second to that, of course, is Microsoft's purchase of Bethesda. I didn't even realize that ZeniMax Online and Bethesda were for sale, but apparently they were, because EA said this week that they too were thinking of buying them, but it was Microsoft that pulled the trigger. It purchased Bethesda for $7.5 billion. In one fell swoop, Microsoft now owns Doom, The Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Wolfenstein, Dishonored, The Evil Within, Prey, the upcoming Starfield, Rage, Commander King, and the id Tech engine. These are some of the biggest franchises on the planet. I mean, Skyrim sold more than 30 million copies on Amazon Alexis alone. So just imagine what it'll do on a console. Following that news, people kind of went crazy online. A bunch of people on Twitter started talking about how Microsoft had a responsibility to make sure that Elder Scrolls and Fallout remain on PlayStation consoles, because that's what you want to do when you spend more than $7 billion on a video game company. Put it on your competition's hardware.
Were people really saying that?
Yes, like a lot of people.
These fucking people, man. Come on. You run a business? Ever? Jesus. Okay.
Microsoft did say that it would honor the agreements made by Bethesda that are currently in place. So Ghostwire Tokyo and Deathloop will both be timed exclusives on the PlayStation 5. Occams, does this move mean a lot to you?
I mean, I was surprised by it. I'm kind of curious if Bethesda needed it. Like what was the impetus for the buy? If they were like shopping around trying to get an influx of cash or some more leadership or something. I'm curious about that. It doesn't really bother me. Like I've always said with my games, I go where the games are. I've played PlayStation 4. I loved it. Before that, I was on Xbox 360. I had a PS3, but that was later on, mostly just for the exclusives. If the new Elder Scrolls comes out for the Xbox Series, whatever the fuck it's called, I'll pick one up, sure, because that's I want to play that game. But the idea of it, like you have to keep it open to all, no, that's not how that works. That's not how business works. Wouldn't it be lovely if it was? But it's not. So that's just a silly complaint. But no, I was surprised, but it didn't particularly upset me or anything. I thought it was interesting. I'm hopeful that them buying Bethesda, it will lead to maybe a firmer timeline to like get some of these games out, to like maybe get a Fallout 5 or Starfield or Elder Scrolls. I would love to see that. And I thought at first I thought that that was a shit ton of money. What you said, $7.5 billion?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I was talking to a colleague of mine who pointed out that was a little low actually. And then I started thinking that kind of like, it did seem a little, for those like some iconic, you mentioned Rage. I think we don't necessarily have to include that in that list, but I think that is a little low for some of these franchises, the numbers they've done, their place in the video game world. So yeah, I'm kind of curious how all that came to be, but it doesn't surprise me or upset, or it doesn't upset me or anything. This happens all the time.
Chris, you have any thoughts on this?
It's obviously, I think it's going to be basically the biggest news of the year, but I still think the timing of it suggests that it's almost a bit like, there's an argument that there's definitely some chest beating going on. Like, let's not forget, like, I know that this wasn't going to happen, but people like to, over the last couple of years, there's been people who've been saying, well, I think Microsoft won't even enter the next generation of gaming. I think they're just going to be a games developer and not do hardware anymore. And whilst I don't think at all that was a realistic assumption, I do think announcing this like the same week that they put those new consoles up for pre-order, I do think there was a bit of a, we're fucking here, we're not going anywhere going on with like this sale. There's Elder Scrolls is probably the money is probably the money here. Like Doom Eternal only did okay. Fallout 76 is terrible. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean they can't turn this stuff around. Everyone banging on about how this means we can get another New Vegas is interesting. Like everyone is leapt on that straight away. But they've already said, haven't they, that they're not. This doesn't guarantee exclusivity for any of these games for Xbox. They've already said it's like a case-by-case basis thing. So I guess we're going to see how it plays out in the long term and whether it's a thing of like, you know, the Xbox and PC get Fallout 5 and the PS5 can have Fallout Brotherhood of Steel 2. I don't know. But they have said it's like a case-by-case thing, so it'll be interesting to see what they choose to go, oh, this is just for us, and this one we're going to share, you know, Doom will share with you, but we're having Elder Scrolls or whatever.
Or if that was just a lie, just to kind of placate people.
Right, when
really
actually
upset.
they're just keeping it all for themselves, maybe.
You know, it was funny when this news came out, the kind of reaction to that, the flip of it was people were saying, okay, now Sony needs to buy Konami.
Yeah.
And I'm honestly, if that happened, I would lose my shit. Just because all that means to me is Silent Hills.
There was also the rumor over the weekend that they were going to buy Sega or Capcom or something. That's probably not going to happen, but Microsoft has already said that it does not plan to slow down on purchasing studios. So expect another acquisition, maybe not of this size, but something smaller in the coming weeks and months.
You know, when those stories started coming out of people online saying, "Oh, I've heard that they're going to announce they've bought Sega this weekend." Honestly, I know we're talking about huge companies and the dawn of the new generation and big money, but that just sounded like something someone would have said to me in the fucking playground in like the SNES. You know, in like the SNES versus Mega Drive days, where it was just like, "Well, I've heard Nintendo are buying Sonic the Hedgehog." Like,
yeah.
That just, those stories just reeked of like,
it's
of console wars, of the console wars.
Sure, that's exactly what it is.
It's like everyone's just still fucking 13. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter, does it?
I think you take a bunch of nerds who were in their 30s, and we grew up in the console wars. I still think there's that little sliver of us somewhere that we do have, you know, oh, well, I have a Super Nintendo, I have a Sega Genesis. You know, there's always the little old habits die hard, maybe. I try really, really hard to kind of just be a live and let live console player. Yeah. I love them all. I think I wish every system had every game and everybody could play what they wanted, when they wanted, how they wanted, you know, but I understand, though, because I remember those days where I was like, wait, you bought a Genesis? You know, like, oh, I'm going to be over here with my Final Fantasy. You can kiss my ass. And it's just, I guess, maybe just people don't change.
All right, we are just about out of time, but before we go, Occams, we have a community shout-out this week?
Yeah, I got a couple. Game Maniac 3434, the master biology scientist bastard, I love him. He gave a presentation, first poster presentation, at a big conference for microbiology, and said it went well. So I'm really happy for him. So congrats, buddy.
That guy knows about germs.
He's
all
does.
About the germs, yeah.
All about the germs. He's a great dude. I love talking to him. He's a science bastard. He's awesome. Home of the Blues has 21-year anniversary with Wilf of the Blues, and awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. So they're sweeties. I love them.
They're like the first couple of Destructoid.
They really are. They really are. Oh, they're great. Let's see here. User Yu Chan had her little girl turned 2. She posted a really cute picture of her sleeping with stuffed animals, and that just I'm a little jealous because I don't remember what it was like to sleep that well. And just it's always great to see some birthdays. Speaking of, also user Inquisitive Ravenclaw had a birthday, and he brings me joy. In just a really, really special way. He's always very happy and positive and posts really cool art. And he had a birthday, so happy birthday, Inquisitive Ravenclaw. So those are the community shout-outs.
Nice. Happy birthday, Inquisitive Ravenclaw. That is it for this episode of Podtoid. On behalf of Occams, Chris, and myself, thank you for listening. And don't forget to subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Podbean, or to the Destructoid channel. And one final note, if you're still able to, please, for the love of God, register to vote.